Hey guys, it's Higher, and in today's video we are going to be making a number guessing game where you have to guess a number between 1 and 100, and the game will tell you as you get closer if you're getting close to the number, and it will give you hints. Then it'll tell you how many tries it took and let you play it again. So you can take a look here at the code. If you want to just copy the code, I will go through this slowly for you. You can pause the video at any point here, but I am going to go over how to actually make this in depth with you. All right, let's get started by making a new project in App Lab. I always recommend doing a paper app, so that's sitting down with a piece of paper, drawing out what you want your app to look like before you sit down and try to actually create it. It really helps the process go a lot more smoothly. But I know that I want to have some sort of direction box at the top. I want to have a text input box where the player can type in their guess. I want to have a button for them to click to input their guess. And then I want them to have a text area below that button to tell them if they are correct, if they need to go higher, or if they need to go lower. I am going to go in and change the theme. You could really choose anything. Let's see what looks fun today. I think I'm going to do, not lavender. I like blue and gold. We'll go blue and gold. No, I don't like blue and gold. We'll go pastel. Okay. So now that I have everything pretty well laid out, I can get started on the actual coding of the app. I do want to change the text of the button. So instead of button, I want it to say guess. And I do want that to be a little bigger, so I'm going to increase the font size down here until I'm happy with it. That looks good. And then I want to put in the direction box. I actually want to put the directions. I'm going to change this to directions as the ID. And then here I'll say guess a number between 1 and 100. I want to change the font size on this for sure. So let's try 40. 40 is way too big. 20. Let's go 30. And then I like mine to be center aligned. Guess a number between 1 and 100. You've got this box. I am going to add placeholder text that says type guess here. I'm going to center align that as well, and I am going to increase the font size just a bit. And then finally, in this box, I want to put in, this is going to be outcome text box. So I'll call it outcome text, and my tester text is going to be, I want to do like the longest text that would possibly show up in this box to make sure I choose a size that works for all of the text I have. So I'm going to say correct. You got it in 4 tries. Because that's about as long as any text I will ever have is in here, and then I can make sure the size looks really nice for that text. Okay, and then I do want to add one final button that just says play again. Excuse me, and we're going to call it, our text will be play again. This one I want hidden. I don't want it to show up when we start the game. So here is my layout. My design is all done, and it's time to get coding. So there's a couple of variables I want to keep track of as I am doing my game. The first variable I need is a number. We have to set up some sort of number. So I'm going to call this number, and this will be the number that the computer chooses that I am trying to guess. So I'm going to have it choose a random number 1 to 100. And I do want to leave this outside of any loops, so that way it chooses this number at the start and then does not change it every time I'm making a guess, because that would make it a really frustrating game to play. Then I want to create another variable, and I'm going to call this variable guess. And for this one, because there is no like starting guess, I'm going to just grab the variable without an equal sign, just to give the name of the variable so that the code knows that this variable is going to be showing up later. And then the last one I want to do, I know that I want to keep track of how many attempts the player makes on getting the number. And initially, before you start the game, your attempts equals 0. And then we're going to increase from there. Okay, so we have this text input box. Text input boxes are really nice because it allows your user to type something in, and then you can use that data to make all sorts of different things happen. So what I am intending to have happen in my game is that the player will type in a guess and then click the guess button. So clicking the button is going to be the trigger or the event that causes the rest of the code to happen. Anytime your user is interacting with the screen, we are going to be looking under UI controls for that text because UI stands for user interface. So I want to get an event, and I'm going to say on button 1. So button 1 is my guess button. So I clicked the little drop down arrow and I said when button 1 is clicked, so on event button 1 clicked, I want it to do a couple of things. The first thing I need it to do is grab the number that the person typed in that box. So I want it to get the text or get the number from my input box. Okay, so I need to set my variable of guess to whatever they typed in that input box. So I'm going to tell it to get number from text input 1. Now it's really important you do get number and not get text, because if you tell it to get text, I got super stuck when I was trying to figure this app out for the first time, because I told it to get text. So it was storing the number the same way it would store a letter. It was storing it as a string variable, which means when we were comparing the random number selected here, we were comparing it to a letter in the program's eyes, which means I always got it wrong even when I got it right. So you want to make sure you choose get number. So now it's going to set our variable of guess equal to the number that our person has typed in here. I'm going to hit run so I can show you something down here. If you open up your debug command center, you have this cool watchers thing. So you can type in a variable or property that exists over here. So I'm going to type in the word number, all caps, like my variable, and hit plus. So you can see the random number it chose was 50. And then I'm also going to type in the word guess, all caps, like I have here. You see guess is undefined. That's because I haven't made a guess yet. So I'm going to put the guess of 10 in. When I click the button guess, it should be setting it to my text input. All right, we're going to keep going because I think this will fix itself as we continue on. All right, so we have all these variables. I think part of the problem is we haven't called the variable attempt and we haven't called the variable number yet, and that can cause some weirdness with the code. All right, so we have our variable guess. We've set the guess to the text input box, the number from the text input box. Now we want to compare our guess to the number the computer selected, and that's going to be under control. We're going to be using a conditional statement, these if-else blocks. We want to do if-else on purpose. So we're going to grab if-else here, and what we essentially want to say is if our number is equal to the guess, then you win. So if number equals guess, you'll notice, so this block programming is based in JavaScript. You can actually click show text and it will show you what your code looks like in JavaScript. Then you can click show blocks and it goes back into blocks. So in JavaScript, you have to have 2 equal signs to say that you're comparing these numbers, not setting one, you're not setting number equal to guess. We're saying we want to compare number and guess, so you have to have 2 equal signs. So if our number equals guess, then we are correct. Otherwise, you are incorrect. So we have to decide what we want to do if we are correct. So in my case, I want to set this box to correct. So I'm going to say set the text of the outcome box to correct. And we will go in and add the attempts later on. So this is our starting point. We're going to say if our number, so this is if the number is equal to guess, we set the outcome to correct. If it's anything else, so if our number is not equal to guess, then what we want to do is tell them incorrect. So we're going to set the outcome text to incorrect. I always recommend testing your program every point that you can to make sure you're not having any major issues. All right, so our number is 9. I'm going to guess 10, and it set my box to incorrect. So you can see it's doing everything correctly right now. But I don't want it to just say incorrect because that makes it almost impossible to guess. I have no clue if I need to go up or down from 10. And I don't want my people to have to guess 100 numbers. I want them to get like a hint on which way to go. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put another if-else block in here. So we're going to say if our number is not equal to guess, then we have to say, what should we do if our number is greater than the guess? So what if the number is greater than our guess? So if the actual number is greater than the guess we made, that means that our guess is lower than the number, so we need to guess a higher number. So I am going to set the text of outcome to higher. And then the else statement means if the number is lower than the guess, we're going to go into the else statement here. So we need to set the text of outcome text to lower. Let's test and see how this is looking. So we're going to hit run. Right now it looks like our number is 54, so I'm going to guess 50, and it's going to tell me I need to go higher. So I'll guess 60, tells me to go lower. And I can keep checking this until we get to 54, and it tells me I'm correct. Now this is already a pretty fun game. You don't have to do anything else. But what I want to do is add an attempts variable that keeps track of how many guesses you make before you get it right. So I already have the variable created. Every time I get it wrong, I just want to add 1 to attempts. So I'm going to grab this variable x here. I'm going to say, when we get it wrong, we're going to take our attempts. It is so important you make sure you are capitalizing the same, that you have no spelling errors, you have no additional spaces. Any change between the word attempts down here and the word attempts up here will make your computer think they're 2 separate variables. All right, so we're going to take our attempts, and we're going to take the current number we have, we're going to add 1 to it. So if we're at 0, it'll be 0 plus 1, which is 1. If we've already done 3 attempts, it'll be 3 plus 1, which is 4. We want to do the same thing down here because this is also an outcome in which you are incorrect. You cannot copy and paste blocks, but you can copy and paste text. So if you're getting tired of typing or re-grabbing those every time, you can just come in, copy, paste, hit show blocks. Look at that. Copied and pasted for you. Okay, so now we have changed it. So every time we make an attempt, it keeps track of how many attempts we've done. We can add that down here. So right now we're at 0 attempts. Let's try changing. I think that maybe one of the reasons we're getting undefined on guess down here is that we didn't define the guess at the beginning. So let's just put the guess to 0 because 0 is not one of the possibilities. All right, so our guess is initially 0. So 52 is our number. I'm going to guess 50. You can see everything should be going up. All right, not sure what's going on with these watchers. We will keep an eye on those. We can check to see if we're correct by adding some information here. We can have it say correct and then tell us how many attempts it took. So we'll just say correct. It took you, and then we have to say the number of tries. So like it took you 4 tries, but we don't want to type a number there. We want it to pull the variable. So we are going to say it took you, and we're going to do a plus, the word attempts, another plus, and then quotation marks against, and another space. Because what this does is the pluses here tell it we're going to combine all of these things. We're combining a string, a variable, and another string. I added these spaces here so that way there's a space on either side of the number, because you can see there's a space on either side of the number here. And then for the word attempts, since that's not in quotation marks, it's going to look for anything that has the same thing anywhere in it. All right. I don't think it loves us using the word number. One of the problems with using words like number is defined by the computer already because computers know what numbers are. So I'm going to just shorten that to num. And then let's try getting rid of that. Let's try getting rid of that. That should hopefully fix a lot of what we've got going on. Okay, I'm seeing the other problem here. It doesn't want us to define the variable here. It wants us to just take care of the variable. So we're going to do attempts equals attempts plus 1. Instead of having variable equals, because this is defining the variable. So we still want to define it at the beginning. So variable equals 0 attempts. And then here we're going to do attempts equals attempts plus 1. Attempts no longer feels like a real word to me. Okay, let's go ahead and try this. See where we're at. It's not liking the guess. Sometimes if you get paused like this, it means it just added a pause in there. So if you hit the little pause button, it'll go back to working. I'm not sure why it's not showing us any of these things down here. Let's try num attempts guess. The number is actually 36. So now it'll say, correct, it took you 2 tries because we created this combination up here. So that's really all you need to make for the main game. I wanted it to then pop up a box that says play again. And when I click the play again button, it will change the number for me and then reset the screen. So if you want to be done here, great. If you'd like to make a play again, let's work through that. So I'm going to grab another event and put it below. So I don't want this inside of the previous event. I want it to be its own event. And I want to say when the play again button is clicked, I want stuff to happen. But here's the problem. The play again button has never been told when to show up. So I need to tell it to show up after I am correct. So down here, I'm going to have it show the element of play again button when I get the answer correct. So we've got 58. I'm going to put in 58. My play again button is now here, which is awesome. I also want to make the input button or the input text area and the guess button go away because I don't want people to keep trying stuff with it. So I'm going to have it hide those 2 elements when I get it incorrect. You'll also notice I did not add this attempts equals attempts plus 1 under the correct answer, and that does count as another attempt. So I do want to go ahead and update that here. I'm going to do attempts equals attempts plus 1, because right now it says I did it in 0 tries, which is just not accurate. We know I did it in 1 try. So the number is 37. Now it does say it took me 1 tries, which is not technically correct. If you wanted, you can create an if-then statement in here that says like if attempts equals 1, then have it say correct, it took you blank, it took you attempts plus try, and then have it be your else be the tries. So that way, if it's equal to 1, it puts the word try, otherwise it puts the word tries. I did that in my main game. I'm not going to bother with it here. Okay, so we're going back to hiding elements, sorry. We have the play again button showing. We want to hide the guess button, so that's button 1, and we want to hide the text input box. I'm going to hit reset, run. Our number is 17. I'm going to guess it. So you see how it made that hide? My play again button is here. I think it'd also look nicer if I made it hide the directions. So I'm going to have it hide the directions as well. Okay, but when I click the play again button, I want all of those things to show back up. So I'm going to grab show elements. So I'm going to have it show the button. I'm going to have it show the directions. I'm going to have it show text input 1. When we do this though, you'll see our number is 69, so we'll hit guess. Took you 1 tries, we hit play again. It shows up, but it still has the previous number in there, and it still has this set to correct. So I also want to reset all of those text elements. So again, I can just come in and do set text here, and I'll have it set the outcome text to nothing. So I just erase the word text and leave blank parentheses. And I want to do the same for that text input box. So I'll set text input to nothing. So that way now those will be totally cleared and my game will be ready to go. I also want to hide the play again button at this point. This is just to make it look really nice. So our number is 8, so I'm going to do 9. I need to go lower, 8. Correct, it took me 2 tries. I hit play again, and it gets everything ready to go. Now the problem is, you'll notice it still says that our number is 8, and we've done 2 attempts, which we have not done because we've technically restarted the game. So we are going to reset our variables here. So we're going to say we want num to equal a random number of 1 through 100. We're going to have it reset. And we want to put attempts back to 0. And that will be our code. All right, let's test it out. So it says our number is 79, so let's go 60, 80, 79. It took me 3 tries. I can hit play again. I'm able to guess a number. I have a new number, 96. We can test 79. And there you go. So that is how you make a number guessing game that allows you to reset and gives you some hints. Like I said, the only thing in this point that might be nice to change is to add an if-then-else statement here. I am going to do it. I can never resist. So we're going to put this one in here, and we're going to say if attempts equals 1. And remember, you do 2 equal signs to say, like, I'm asking you to look at the number of attempts, and if that number of attempts is 1, then we're going to have it say it took me 1 try. And actually, I'm going to leave this down here. And I'm just going to have it set the outcome text to say it took you 1 try, because there's really only one option there. Correct. It took you 1 try. So now, at least our grammar is correct. And then you'll notice I had it do this as an if-then-else loop. And then I put all of the hide elements and the show elements below this conditional loop here. That's because these are going to happen regardless of if it says it took you 1 try or it took you X tries. I always want this to happen. So let's test it out. And then this app is completely done and looking great. So let's go ahead and do 1 try. Uh-oh. That was weird. Okay, well, let's get it in 2 tries and see if that works. So it works in 2 tries. Let's try it in 1 try. 47. Okay, so it's leaving this as the initial text. Oh, it's because I didn't change it from ID. See, you miss one tiny thing and it causes you huge issues. So we're going to have it change the outcome text there. Even I make mistakes sometimes. There you go. Correct. It took you 1 try. Now, the only other thing I want to change, right now it says correct, it took you 4 tries, which is just the placeholder text. I'm going to erase that. So this is empty. And here you go. You have a completely finished game that's ready to run. And it even has correct grammar. Well, thanks guys for making this. As always, make sure you rename your project. I'm going to call this guessing game numbers. You can always share by hitting the share button, copying the link to your project, or sending it to your phone to try out as a web app. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.